Hello, this is Astrologer Dawn here, and this is the 5th time I'm doing this. So, is my patience wearing a bit thin? I guess it's because I'm so engaged in what I'm doing, and that's what I want to talk to you about. Disengagement and engagement. For those of you who are on my MailChimp list, you will have read the information that I gave you not so long ago about the number of people who are engaged and disengaged in the work that they do. 78% of the US are actively disengaged from the work that they're being paid for. So I'm assuming that some of you are part of that 78%, and I wanted to tell you, sort of say something about that and give you some examples. So about 18 months ago, we started looking for shoes. My husband and I started to look for more professional type basketball shoes. Our son's getting bigger, he plays a lot of basketball, he has big feet and he has wide feet. So the first place they went to was Foot Locker. And the sales guy said, no, sorry, we don't have wide shoes. Anyway, for 18 months, my husband bought shoes online at different outlets. And then finally today, he said, you know what, that can't be right. This is something from 18 months ago. So I went back to Foot Locker and they said, of course we sell white shoes. And I said, do you realize how disengaged that shoe salesman must have been 18 months ago? I mean, think about this. He works in a shoe store. The only thing he really needs to know about is shoes or footwear or anything to do with the feet. And he doesn't even know the simplest thing that the company sells wide shoes. And he's so disengaged, he doesn't even suggest, let me check with my manager. He doesn't say, you can get them online. He just moves on. Because what he's actively engaged in is thinking about, when am I getting my next break? How much vacation time do I have? When can I leave? And how much am I going to get paid? And how much longer am I going to have to do this? So he's actively engaged in the process of being disengaged. Now, that's a very, I wanted to give you that kind of negative because that's obviously sounds really depressing as well. And then there's the opposite ends of the spectrum. People who are actively engaged. And I think about, and it's interesting, it's a shoe thing. So in the northwest of Tucson, we have Allen's Shoes, a small store. And about 2 years ago, I was looking for hiking shoes. It took me an hour and a half because the person that served me had so many questions. You know, how often are you going to use these? Do you want to have socks? What is your walking stride? Let's see what you've already had. Here's all these different makes. Are you going to be using them for different seasons? Let's take into account your weight and height. And it was like really extensive. And she put me on her mailing list. Foot Locker did not put my husband on the mailing list. So she was really engaged in the process. So when I need hiking shoes, that's where I go to. Same thing with Fry's Marketplace at Thornydale in Marana. Roberta Morrison, front-end manager. Every time I'm there, did I get everything that I needed? If not, can she order it for me? Is there a place somewhere else that I've seen it so that she can get the business? So also, she's really good about her and her staff trying to get us to fill out the surveys. She's actively engaged. She wants to make sure that she and the staff around her get credit for the good work that they do. So I like to go online and fill out those surveys and everything. It's not just for her. She's actively engaged in being involved with the customer. And it doesn't matter what you're doing at what level. It doesn't matter what kind of job that you have. You have to be actively engaged, because if you're not, what are you actively engaged in? You know, if 78% of you are not actively engaged in the work that you're doing, what are you doing when you're at work? Now, I know what that's like. I worked for Wyeth when I was about 30. And I worked for a really, really high up VP. We were somewhere on the main line in Philadelphia. And he really only had about half an hour's worth of work for me a day. And this is before the internet. So I wrote I think it was like a 500-page murder mystery book. Because what else could I do? I couldn't be actively engaged. He was only there for a very short period of time. And he didn't want me to do anything else, because I was supposed to be at such a level that I guess I'd have all this work. I was actively disengaged with the work I was doing and actively engaged in writing a murder mystery book. So, what are you? Are you engaged in the work that you're doing? Are you getting joy? Are you getting fulfillment? Do you wake up in the morning excited about the kind of work that you're doing, the people that you are going to be spending time with, the activities and tasks in which you are involved? If you're finding yourself that you are disengaged, maybe it's time to evolve from that and start looking at what's going to help me become more engaged. Because you have two choices. You can either become, well, I guess there's a third. You can either become actively engaged in where you're at right now, because that's the choice that you've made, and that's okay. There's no shame, blame, or judgment on the choices that you make, on the careers that you make. If you're going to do them, though, do them. And if you're already doing something you love, can you take it to another level? You know, can you create something for yourself that fits in with your way of life? So I guess you have to ask yourself a few questions. Are you engaged or are you disengaged with the work that you're doing? Anyway, if you need help, give me a call, 520-419-5419. Check out astrologerdawn.com. Don't forget, you can hear me on the Cayman Islands at, must be around 8 a.m. CI time. Philadelphia, 7 a.m. You got to check out my schedule for that one, though. Anyway, namaste.